Hello and welcome to Healing the Shaman's Way. I'm your host, Dr. Norman Wilson. Yes, I'm a shaman. No, I am not a Native American. Today I'd like to talk about medicinal teas and their role in bringing about healing in your bodies, sometimes maybe even your souls. Teas have been around for a long time, particularly medicinal teas. We have records of going back to that they were used back in the 1600s before the current era. That's BCE. So that's a long time. Third dynasty, the Shang dynasty in China, we have a record of it being used in writing as a medicinal purposes. I don't know, maybe you remember as a child you had an upset stomach and your mom gave you a little tea with ginger in it. Maybe you had that tickly cough and your mom gave you a little tea with honey in it. Maybe you've been upset and nervous and you had what was known as chamomile tea. Teas have been around and they're useful. I would like to talk about just one of those today, and I'm sure that it's going to be a little bit of a surprise for you. Maybe you've heard of nettles, stinging nettles, and nettles tea. I wonder, have you ever heard of birch bark tree tea? Yes, tea made from a birch bark tree. It's actually not the birch bark tree, it's a white birch. And by the way, there are some 40 different species of birch trees. White birch is just one of them. There's silver, mandarin, cherry, just to name a couple of them that are available. What you do is you take and gather up some leaves, okay, and I don't know whether you can get too good an idea because I've been crumbling these. You also pick up some of the twigs off the branches like this, okay, and you thoroughly wash those, please. Sometimes there are insects on them and bird droppings, and you don't need to ingest those. The other thing, once you have that gathered and they've been thoroughly washed, dry them. And you can pat them dry on a paper towel or a cloth towel. And then to make sure that they're really dry, I pop them in the oven at 175 degrees on a flat tray, cookie tray. 10-15 minutes till they're really dry, being careful that they don't get brown or burned. You don't want that flavoring in your tea. Once those are really dry, I take them out and I crumble them in a bowl, like so. There you go. Okay. And that includes the little twigs. And I really crumble them up good. And while I've done that, then I boil water, about a cup and a half, and make sure that I have a clean pot or a clean cup to put this in. Now, you may use this kind of a pot. The inside comes out. You put your tea in this. Okay. It has little holes in the bottom. There you go. And put the tea in that. Let it seep. Some herbalists that I know recommend that a tea steep for at least 15 minutes. I say sometimes 5 to 10, depending on how strong you want it. Okay. If you don't have one of those, you may use a tea ball. Pack that with your tea and put it in your cup of boiling water. Okay. You can just pop the tea into a cup, and then you may need to have a little strainer like this to strain the tea for you to drink it. You do not want to swallow the birch bark crumpled up and made into a tea. It's good for pain. It helps build the immune system. It's full of nutrition, if you will. And just a little aside here, by the way, is that is something I learned many years ago, that if you're lost in the woods and you run out of water and you run out of food, find a birch bark tree, a pine tree, a cedar tree, and carve away the outer layer of the bark. Even if you have to use a stone, cut it away. That is full of nutrition and moisture. Dig it out and chew it. Okay, so you can survive. So that is one example of a medicinal tea. The other one that I sometimes use is Douglas fir. Now, Douglas fir has a little more earthy taste to it. You take the needles are long, thin needles, like they're flat like that. That doesn't happen to be a Douglas fir. I don't have one on my property. And you dry those, wash them, and then you take a grinder that you use for coffee, or maybe you have one you use just for fresh herbs, and grind it up, and then proceed to put it in your strained teapot, or put it in a little tea ball, or just in your cup. Now that's loaded with vitamin C. And it's an easy thing to do. Recipes, by the way, for teas and soups and salads, that's the name of my latest book. And it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and also on Cahill Press Publishing Company. That's Cahill, www. And it's also available as an ebook. And I list 8 recipes for heating tea, as well as 8 for soups and 8 for salad. It's a little book, and I think you'll find it useful. In the meantime, I wish you a good day, and thank you for listening. Namaste.